Hi, Pete Callard here for Six String Alliance, and today we're going to be looking at 5 easy jazz licks. So our first lick comes from Wes Montgomery and is over a C major 7th chord. So as I mentioned, this line works over a C major 7th chord. Wes Montgomery is very much playing around this chord shape. In fact, he's kind of playing around C major scale in this position. And over the C major 7th chord, he starts up here on the 5th fret on the B string with the note E, and jumps down across a couple of strings to the D string on the 5th fret, to the G note. Then moves up to the A, 2nd fret of the G string, and goes straight up the scale to C. Then back down again. And then between the A and the G, he sticks a chromatic passing note, an A flat in there. So we're going from the A on the 2nd fret of the G string to A flat on the 6th fret on the D string, then the G on the 5th fret on the D string. From here he carries on down the scale. F, then E, 3rd and 2nd frets on the D string, then D, 5th fret on the A string, and then finally the root note, the C, here on the 3rd fret on the A string, and then jumps down a 4th to this low G to finish up. As I say, it's all based around C major scale around the C major 7 chord. Nicely outlining that kind of C major 7 sound. So let's hear that lick up to speed with a backing track. So our second lick is over a C minor 7 chord and comes from Martino. So as I said, this line is over a C minor 7th chord. Again, we're here with this A shape, C minor 7 chord, up here, 3rd fret, and over this, Martino starts on this F on the 3rd fret of the D string, hammering onto the 5th fret, so the F up to the G. And follows it by going to a B flat on the G string, 3rd fret, then D on the B string, 3rd fret, and F on the B string, 6th fret. And incidentally, this phrase starts on the last 8th note of the preceding bar, so it's like a little anticipation with this F. So you get 1, 2, 3, 4. Then he follows this by going back down to the D on the 3rd fret, the B string, then the E flat on the 4th fret, then the G on the top string, 3rd fret, then up to the B flat, 6th fret, then down to the A on the 5th fret, then skips down a major 3rd to this F on the B string, 6th fret, then plays exactly the same idea down a whole step. So again, going down a major 3rd from the G to the E flat. Then down to the D on the 3rd fret B string, C on the 5th fret of the G string, then the B flat on the 3rd fret, then the G, 5th fret of the D string, and then finishing up on the A. here on the 2nd fret of the G string. And all the notes in this come from the C Dorian scale, the C Dorian mode, which is basically second mode of B flat major. So it's all the notes from the B flat major scale, but starting from C, starting from the 2nd note of the B flat scale, and played over a C minor 7 chord. But there's a bit more going on than that if we look at this a bit more closely. So you'll see where he starts off. So this first little idea is actually spelling out a G minor 7 chord. These are all the notes from G minor 7 arpeggio. You've got the flat 7, the F, the root, the G, flat 3rd, the B flat, 5th, the D, flat 7th, the F. Then he follows that, outlining C minor 7, starting on the 9th. So you get this sound of moving from G minor to C minor. And then he follows that. It's sort of suggesting F major to me. Then C minor. And ending up here on the 6th. Really nice colourful note to end on. So you see there's quite a bit going on in this harmonically. So he's not just running up and down the scale, which I think is one of the things that makes it such a cool line. So again, let's hear this up to tempo with a backing track. Our third lick is over a 2-5-1 sequence in C and is from one of the pioneers of jazz guitar, the great Charlie Christian. So as I mentioned, this lick is over a 2-5-1 in C, which is the chords D minor 7, G7, and C major 7, which is basically what you get when you harmonise the C major scale. So it's basically the chord built off the 2nd degree, 5th degree, and the 1st degree. And over this, he's starting out on the note A on the 5th fret on the top E string, followed by the G, 3rd fret, and then moving to the F on the 6th fret on the B string. And again, like the previous example, this starts on the final 8th note of the preceding bar. So you get this: 1, 2, 3, 4. So all of that is over the D minor 7th chord. Then over the G7 chord, we get this idea. So for this, he's starting on the D note here on the 5th fret on the A string, moving to the F on the 3rd fret of the D string, then the A flat on the 6th fret, then up to the B note on the 4th fret on the G string, then the D note on the 3rd fret on the B string, then F, 6th fret, then A flat on the 4th fret on the top E string, and down to G on the 3rd fret, and finishing up here on the E note on the 5th fret on the B string. So where these notes come from, we mentioned of the D minor 7 chord, we're starting on the 5th and going down the scale to the minor 3rd. And over this G7, these notes are all a diminished 7th arpeggio. So he's going straight up a diminished 7th arpeggio from D all the way up to the A flat here. And the diminished 7th arpeggio, it's basically the notes of a dominant 7th chord, but instead of the root, you have a flat 9th. So instead of that G, you have an A flat. And doing this creates a bit of tension with this flat 9, which makes it push towards C major 7 and the resolution. So you feel that tension, then the release. And then following the A flat, he then goes down to the G, then the E, which is the major third of the C major 7, so resolving really nicely. So let's hear this again up to tempo with the backing track. And our fourth example, again over this 2-5-1 in C major, comes from Green. So this line is again over this D-7, G7, C major 7 sequence, 2-5-1 in C. And over this, Green starts up here on the 10th fret on the G string with this F note, moving down to D on the 7th fret, then repeating that same pattern on the D string. So going from the 10th fret, the C, down to the A on the 7th fret. And this starts out on beat 4 of the preceding bar, leading into the D-7 chord. So we'd have this, 1, 2, 3. Following the A, he then moves up chromatically to the B note. And then goes to the D note, again here on the 7th fret of the G string, F on the 10th fret, G on the B string, 8th fret, then the A flat and the B flat, on the 9th and the 11th fret, back to the G, then down to this C on the D string, 10th fret, then to the E, 9th fret on the G string, then finishing back, playing the C twice on the D string. Well, incidentally, I forgot to mention, for that E note, you've got a little slide into it. So starting a fret below and sliding into it. And again, where the notes are coming from for this, initially he's playing around D-7, he's playing a D-7 arpeggio, so the notes of the D-7 chord. And moving up chromatically to land on this B, which is the major third of the G chord, as the chord changes, and then moves up a G7 arpeggio. So straight up a G7 arpeggio from 3rd, 5th, flat 7th, root. Then spices it up a little bit by playing a flat 9th, then the sharp 9th, so the A flat, the A sharp, so again, similar idea to the previous Charlie Christian idea. We're getting a bit of tension on the 5 chord, which is going to be released by resolving to the 1 chord. And then he's kind of anticipating that resolution before we get to C major chord by going back to the G, then to the C, then to the E. So again, spelling out C major triad. And then hitting that C twice just to firmly show that we're back home. It's a lovely line. So let's hear this back up to speed with the backing track. Our final example is over a 3-6-2-5-1, again in C major. And this is an amalgamation of ideas from Charlie Parker and Barney Kessel. So as I mentioned, example number 5 is over a 3-6-2-5-1 in C, which is made up of the chords E-7, A7, D-7, G7, and C major 7. And we're starting up here on the 14th fret on the D string with the note E, followed by the G, then the B, on the 12th fret on the G and the B strings respectively. What we're doing, we're basically spelling out an E minor triad over this E minor 7th chord. And then Then we're going to move down a half step from this B down to the B flat. On the 11th fret on the B string, then down to the G, again 12th fret on the G string, then the E flat on the 13th fret, then the 11th fret on the D string, the D flat. And then we're going to do exactly that same idea but down a whole step. So this time over the D minor 7, I'm going to play a D minor triad. So up here on the 12th fret, on the D string going to the 10th fret, on the G and the B string, with the notes F and A respectively. And again moving down to the 9th fret to this A flat, then the F on the G string, then the D flat, then the C flat, on the D string, 11th and 9th frets. You can also see that as B and C sharp. The enharmonic equivalents if you're not a fan of C flats. Then finishing off, go to C, on the 10th fret of the D string, and go straight up the C major scale to G. So that's 10th fret, 12th fret on the D string, then 9th fret, 10th fret and 12th fret on the G string, then back down to the E on the 9th fret. And what's going on here? So we're outlining the minor chord, then we're outlining E flat or E flat 7 over the A7 chord. And the reason we can do that is A7 is resolving to D minor. And any dominant 7th chord that's resolving, we can do something called tritone substitution, which is a fancy name. But basically moving up a flat 5th, so moving from A to E flat, and playing a dominant 7th chord in its place. Then the G7 chord, we can do exactly the same thing, the G7 resolving to C. So we can move up a flat 5th to D flat and play a D flat 7th chord. So we'd have this sequence. And that's what we're playing over. It's what we're outlining with this line. E minor, E flat 7, D minor, D flat 7, and finishing in C. So let's hear this back up to tempo with the backing track. That's all from me, but head to the description down below and click on the link to download all the tab for these licks for free. And I'll see you soon for more videos.